Welcome back to MVM. Today I am bringing you a preview for Anachrony Fractures of Time, which is the expansion to one of our MVM approved titles. Now, we have done a video preview for Anachrony, and if you'd like to check that out to get a better idea of the base game, go ahead and do that. But I want to focus on some of the new things that are added and some of the changes to the base game. And you will see Anachrony set up here in front of me with some of the new components, a new path here directly in front of me. Now, one of the first and most obvious changes to this game is this turn structure here. There are less eras, and you actually start with a 0 era already flipped up instead of starting on era 1. Now, the reason this is such a big change is because it lets you request resources right on that very first turn by placing out your markers and actually getting some resources to start the game. It also lets you get a super project right off the bat. So you're not doing a full round in era 0, you're just doing those things and then moving into era 1. You will also notice that there are only 2 eras after the collapse. So this definitely does change the gameplay flow. The other obvious thing it adds to the game is a new board, and this is the Valley board. The premise here is that the scientists have opened up new portals to this valley where there are new characters called operators harvesting flux cores. These flux cores are a new resource that you're going to be able to collect and spend in the game. They will power up your fracture device. These new operators can be gathered from that Valley board and used kind of as regular workers. They're a little limited in what they can do, but there are also a few spaces on your fracture device that can only be accessed by these operators. So they have a kind of a specific purpose, but they can still be used generically. In general, the rules for Anachrony have not changed for this expansion, except for the addition of one key new ability that I'll talk about now. That is the ability to blink. And this is going to tie into your fracture device, which comes with the game. Now, you're going to have these new player boards for every player, and you're going to see these little spaces here with which you can place those flux cores that you've been harvesting. As you harvest and use these, you're going to be able to blink your characters, which means you can take them from one space on the main board and blink them to another, and then take that action. This frees up your original space and allows you to take that new action, so you can then come in with another worker or exosuit on a future turn and make use of that original space. Every time you do that, you're going to fill up this fracture board, but you're also going to risk glitching out your system. And this is another new concept. Every player is going to have these glitch tokens available, and you're going to start with one of them out at the beginning of the game. But every time you use this fracture device, you're going to have to roll the glitch dice. If you roll too high on the die, you're going to suffer a glitch in a random location on your player board, and you're going to take that glitch token and place it down on the affected location. A glitched out area is going to provide less of a benefit, and there's a cheat sheet that shows you what happens to each of these areas as they're glitched out. But in general, you want to avoid these glitches, but they're going to happen. The more frequently you use your fracture device, the more you're going to risk these glitches. The glitches can be removed by using those operators I talked about earlier in a specific way, but that's the only way to get rid of them. This fracture device only has a certain number of spaces, so you can only blink a certain number of times. However, this device can be upgraded, and as you see, it slides open. It creates more spaces for flux cores, and it also gives you victory points at the end of the game. Now, you're going to be upgrading this by using those breakthrough tiles. In the base game, you can collect these breakthrough tiles, and this is going to give you another way to use them. You can do it once per turn for free, but you can actually use an operator to take it again. You place this breakthrough tile in one of these spaces, and that will let you upgrade this fracture device. There are also new in-game conditions that are tied into this board. You're going to have 2 of these. One for having the most flux drives down on your fracture device, and one for having the most upgrade cards. Upgrade cards are another new idea added in with the expansion. You're going to have a deck of these upgrades, and these are going to sit out by that Valley board. You're going to be able to take an action there at the Valley that lets you draw these upgrades. When you have an upgrade, it sits out in front of you and provides a ability for you for the rest of the game. Some of these are going to be one-time use, but some of them are actually going to provide an ability you can use over and over again. In addition, you're going to see a stack of new building tiles. These building tiles are going to replace some of the old buildings to let you make use of the operators and some of these new mechanics, but there are also a few brand new buildings mixed in here. So you're going to use these every time you play the game with the expansion content. Lastly, the game is going to introduce new collapse tiles. You'll recognize if you've played Anachrony, when you get to the end of the game, some of these spaces start collapsing as the world begins to be destroyed. You're going to have a new set of these. You're going to just choose a few of them, shuffle them, and put them on top of the stack from the original game. So you're going to be seeing these new collapsing tiles, and you're going to be seeing a different amount of these, so it's going to leave the gameplay feeling a little fresh. You don't know exactly which collapse tiles you're going to have in your particular game. So the actual structure of the game is the same, and most of the rules are the same. Like I said, we've introduced some new buildings, some new cards, some new workers, those operators, and you're also going to have the option to play as a new path. This is the path of unity, which comes with its own characters. You're going to have 2 characters to choose from, and you're going to be able to play this faction only when you use the expansion content, because it does reflect directly with the expansion. Every path in the game is kind of suited to a different purpose. This path is definitely suited to taking full advantage of that fracture device and those flux cores. And again, they're going to come with their own exosuits, which you'll see a prototype sculpt here of what the exosuits will look like, but it is very close to being done. So that was an overview of Anachrony Fractures of Time. This game is available on Kickstarter right now, so take a look at their Kickstarter page and see what the final version of these sculpts are going to look like, in addition to any kind of stretch goal content or any secrets that they might have waiting to be unlocked. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and follow everything we do, and I will see you next time.